For the love of God, I beg of you, Bills Mafia, do not put me through a flaming table. I'm not actually a Patriots fan. We just recorded the division this week, and I wanted a relevant jersey. Tom Brady has been retired for a couple of years now. I think it's safe. I can wear his jersey. And look, guys, I'm a Falcons fan. I didn't like Tom Brady as a player either. 28-3. I still don't want to talk about it. I just want you to know, as I come as a friend, Buffalo fans, I'm ready to talk about the Bills. I think that you are a very good team last year. I think you're going to be a very good team this year. I have nice things to say about you. Just give me a chance. Brian, talk to me about the Bills in 2024.
No, I'd rather them go ahead and just roast you in the comments for wearing that ugly jersey. Just go ahead and get the pitchforks out and, just do it to him. I mean, he deserves it. I'm right there for you. But
there was one fan base I wouldn't want to be on their backs. I know a lot of people talk about Philadelphia just because they're rude. But, man, Bills Mafia is crazy. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible.
All right, let's get into these 13-4 Buffalo Bills. They're a good football team. They're going to be a good football team this year. I've got them winning the AFC East again. I don't see much changing. I thought, Josh Allen, you can't say enough about this kid. I mean, he's not even a kid at this point. He's a grown man, and he's kind of proved it. So, hats off to him, hats off to the Buffalo Bills and their fans. I think you're great. Whether my brother, wants to wear a Patriots jersey and disrespect you, that's on him. Don't blame the other side of the screen.
Yeah, don't blame him for it. That's a little good cop, bad cop. But like you said, this was a good team, and I think they were even better than what some of these numbers indicate. I think you'd probably be surprised to learn that they were only the 10th ranked offense as far as yards per game. I think they were probably a higher rated scoring offense. But defense, 17th. They gave up 342 yards per game. They were 24th against the pass. That's actually not as good of a number as I would have expected to see. And maybe it's just because of how good this offensive was. Maybe they were very good at getting turnovers on defense, and it turned into points, but not a lot of yards on offense. And so teams constantly had to be throwing against them to keep up because this was such a good football team. Like you said, 13-4. The numbers don't lie. Maybe those rankings are a little bit misleading, but this was a very, very good football team. And I don't really see too much to make me think that they won't be again in 2025. They do have some different faces, though. Amari Cooper and Matt Collins leaving this wide receiver room. Amari Cooper remains unsigned. I've heard talks that maybe he's going to retire. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case or not. Matt Collins is now a New England Patriot. Von Miller, edge player. Guys, if you've been watching this video series this week, I've said this in every single video. A defensive player leaving an AFC East team, going not just to the NFC East, but specifically the Washington Commanders. Von Miller was the Buffalo Bills offering to the Commanders. They said, hey, we don't want to be left out. We'll give you Von Miller. And the Commanders said, okay, we'll take him. And then cornerback Khair Elam traded to the Dallas Cowboys. They certainly need help on both sides of the ball as well. So maybe that works out for them. But there's going to be some big names added to this team as well. Larry Ogunjobi, a defensive tackle. He gets $8.3 million on a one-year deal. Josh Palmer, a wide receiver coming over from the Chargers. He gets 3 years, $36 million. The big acquisition is Joey Bosa, edge player. Very familiar with him and his brother, both talented defenders. 1 year, $12.6 million, can actually earn $3 million more on incentives. This is very much I am a very good player. I want to be on a very good team, and I want to try to push them over the top and get a Super Bowl win. He wants a ring, and he came to a team that's willing and worthy to try to get him one. So love that addition. But they spent more money on bringing their own guys back than they did in bringing in some outsiders. They've got some big deals here, Brian. Terrell Bernard, linebacker, 4 years, $50 million. Christian Benford, $76 million at the cornerback position over 4 years. Huge. $80 million for 4 years for Greg Rousseau. If you remember him coming out of the University of Miami, absolute terror off the edge, pairing him with Joey Bosa. They're going to be getting after quarterbacks like never before. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver. He's the de facto number one receiver in this offense. He gets 4 years, $60 million. Obviously, that's a big one. But there's one name that stands above them all, and it is Josh Allen. Huge deal. 6 years, $330 million, 250 of that's guaranteed. Massive contract. This is a newlywed. Haley Steinfeld, talented singer, talented actress, absolute beautiful woman. Neither one of them are going to be hurting for money at this point because her career has been doing great. His has obviously been phenomenal. Obviously, he won the MVP last year. He has his wife now, and he is now ring chasing for the rest of his career because his bank account is set. He only has to focus on postseason success. Brian, what do you think about the money that they spent as how it relates to team building for success in the NFL?
Well, I mean, if you're going to keep a 13-win team together, you got to spend the money to do so. And I think they did. And, I think it's a good investment. I could easily see them going to the Super Bowl this year, for the AFC side. I don't want to say that because I like the Raiders, newly Raiders fan. If you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. But that don't mean I'm not a Buffalo Bills hater. I like the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, I don't wear a Patriots jersey to a Buffalo Bills video. And yeah, I'm going to keep taking shots this whole video. So hopefully I get some love for it. But yeah, I think they spent the money. I think they needed to spend the money. Josh Allen, he's earned it. He is their quarterback. He is their leader. You don't win the MVP of the National Football League and not deserve that kind of money. So I like it. I'd like it if it was in my bank account, but I'm also not an MVP quarterback. So I'll just stick to my day job, I guess.
Well, you know what? I'll go ahead and embrace the hate because if you're going to pit me against the Buffalo Bills fan, I will actually wear the jersey of a deserving MVP like Tom Brady because Josh Allen shouldn't have won that MVP. I'll stand by it. It should have been Lamar Jackson. He should be a three-time MVP winner. His numbers last year were even better than they were when he was the MVP. He improved on every metric, and he was better than Josh Allen was. That being said, when you start talking about strengths of this team, like you said, it's Josh Allen. He is that MVP caliber player. He's literally Superman for this team. He makes everything else go. He's almost the epitome. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. If a throw needs to be made, he's going to do it. If somebody needs to jump over a pile of players to score a touchdown, he'll do it. If you've got to literally run through somebody's soul, he will do it. And it's almost like he tries to be Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry at the same time. And he's actually really good at it. It's almost scary how good he is at it. A unique talent at the quarterback position. And you look at some of the talent they added in the draft. Obviously, we talked about the money they spent, but think about the draft picks that they used. Maxwell Hairston, cornerback coming out of Kentucky. I think he ran like a 4.26 40. When you start looking at some of the other high-powered offenses, we talked about the Jamar Chase-led Bengals. We talked about how good the Ravens are. We talked about the Chiefs, certainly, and all the speed that they have. The Dolphins we talked about this week. There's a lot of speed in the AFC specifically, and Hairston is the speed at the cornerback position that you need to stick with like an Xavier Worthy or a Tyreek Hill or some of these other receivers. I think it was a great selection for the Buffalo Bills. I was a little worried as far as scheme fit goes. I don't think that maybe he fits their scheme as much as what some of the other cornerback prospects are. But when you think about it from this is a game of matchups, you talk about what Travis Kelce has meant because it takes such a specific player to match up with Kelce. You look at the threats in the AFC, it's a murder's row right now. You look at the Ravens and the Bengals and the Chiefs and the Broncos. It's week in and week out. You almost have to be damn near perfect week in and week out to even have a shot at the 1 seed in the AFC. NFC is a little bit easier to get. But the Bills they know they're not going to have an easy road to the Super Bowl. They're preparing themselves for every war that they're going to find themselves into. You go back and watch that Chiefs shootout game that they had, where they're probably thinking like, man, if we just had a 4.26 speed corner that could have stuck with these guys and negated one touchdown, it would have changed the whole game. Well, now you've got Maxwell Hairston. You add him to that room. I think it's going to be a big, big addition for them. Talking about the money that they paid Christian Benford, obviously they've got some other talented secondary members on this roster, but I love what they did with their first-round pick. And then they added a couple of talented defensive linemen, Landon Jackson in the 3rd round coming from Arkansas, And then TJ Sanders coming out of South Carolina as defensive tackle. You talk about Greg Russo coming, you talk about Joey Bosa. Von Miller is no longer here to bring in somebody like Landon Jackson, who had a very curious career in college. I mean, he was very good in the SEC, but maybe the numbers weren't always there that you expected to be. Obviously, Buffalo Bills saw something in him that they can use, that they can mold. And I'm interested to see what he becomes with so many other talented defenders already on roster, how much rep he gets, how much run he gets onto the first team. He's actually somebody that I'm wanting to look at in the preseason and see how he wins at this level. And TJ Sanders, he's a big bodied, he's a very violent hands, interior defensive player. He's somebody that's going to give you an interior push. He's going to stop the run. He's going to force double teams at times. I don't know. I mean, you talk about their defense only being 17th last year, being 24th against the pass. Their first 5 picks were on defense, and 6 of their first 9 picks in this draft were spent on defense. It's like they knew, we know Josh Allen is going to be literally Superman at quarterback. He is the strength of this team. We know that James Cook, if we can end his holdout and get him locked up in the long term, if we can get our offensive core in place, we just have to keep investing in the defense to get them there. We have to keep adding depth at every position, or starters at every position, continuing to improve. The Bills seem like they're a step ahead of a lot of other teams in as far as thinking ahead to the games. They're not worried about their regular season. I've got them going 12-5, finishing first in this division. They were 13-4 last year. Like I said, it's a tough conference to play in. And whereas their division might not be that tough, their out of division schedule is going to be tough as well. It's like they already know that they're in the playoffs. They might not be the 1 seed, but they're planning on winning this division, and they're preparing for those playoff matchups that await them. And I think they're doing a really good job of preparing themselves for postseason football. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about it almost on every single video. Defense wins championships. Looks like they're trying to build one. So, if they can build that defense up to Josh Allen's level, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be, they may be that number 1 seed and kind of have an easier road through the playoffs. But you got to get there first. You can't. I don't agree with looking at the playoffs. Hey, we're going to win the AFC East and we're just going to coast this through the year because we know we're going to win it. We know we're going to the playoffs. I wouldn't look at it that way. And I don't think the coaches are going to look at that way. And it kind of shows with their defensive picks throughout the draft. That's a lot of draft picks to spend on defensive players. So I think they're trying to build an empire versus let's build a winning team this year. They want to do it for the next 6 years. So I like it. I like what they did with the draft. I think they're going to be a good football team. I don't think their record's going to change much. I'm like you. I could see a 13-4 easy this year. 12-5. I'm not disagreeing with that at all either. So hopefully, with that kind of love, the Buffalo Bill fans will show us love on this video. But let's. You talked about the holdout, and we want to see that kind of come to fruition. I think everybody does. I get it. There's a lot more behind the scenes than what we see. So it is concerning. Hopefully they can get a deal done and we're good to go. But
what I really need right now is one of those ridiculous WNBA players to take off their shirt and give it to James Cook, pay him what you owe him. Yeah. He's earned it on the big stage. You saw the touchdowns he scored last year. You saw how productive he's been in this offense. I think James Cook loves playing with Josh Allen. I think he loves the Bills Mafia, as he should. And I think that he is somebody that deserves to be rewarded and compensated for what he's done. I'm not really a big fan of these holdouts. I think they've gotten a little, maybe ridiculous isn't the best word for them. They've gotten excessive, might be the best term for it. I don't want to see every single week 2 new players popping up with wanting extension. You're already under contract. I think that you should honor the contract, but players are told, you dangle the carrot in front of them. If you do X, Y, and Z, you get paid more. Well, he's done the entire alphabet for this team, and now it's time to pay him. I think he is the missing piece as far as what makes this team go from being a 10-win team to being a 13-win team. What he contributes in the run game and in the passing game, it's so unique for their identity. How effective he is, you're not going to be able to replicate that with his backups. And so I think paying him, getting him in place before the season, it's the biggest thing that Buffalo could do at this point, because we've talked about how much money they paid Josh Allen. Pretty soon, yes, the cap tends to go up every year, but pretty soon you're not going to have $12 to $15 million to bring in a Joey Bosa on a one-year deal. They have to win a championship now before that contract makes it to where they can't afford big-name free agents. And that's why they spent so many draft picks on the defensive side of the ball, because like you said, they're going to need cheap talent to be on this roster to make up for the money that they're paying Josh Allen and hopefully James Cook and Khalil Shakir and all these other guys that they've signed to these big deals. You can only sign so many players. You're going to need people on cheaper contracts. So these draft picks are going to matter in the very short future. And so I like what they've done, but I think if you don't bring James Cook back, a lot of it can be for naught, because I think it is big enough that it takes them away from being a contender if you don't have that starting running back in place.
Oh, I agree. Well, let's move into fantasy. I mean, we pretty much stated where we're at with this, but we'll go ahead and make it official. Who are you putting on your team?
First and foremost, it's Josh Allen. He is a top 3 quarterback or better, no matter what your settings are. He runs and he gets rushing touchdowns. You love that. He's going to get passing yards in bunches. He's going to do it all. He's going to be very productive. He is somebody that if you say, I'd rather have Lamar Jackson, I'd rather have Jaden Daniels, okay, I understand it. But are you telling me you'd rather have Patrick Mahomes than him? No. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts than him? No. I mean, those guys can be top 5 guys, but Josh Allen, if you're not mentioning him in the top 3, I think you need to check yourself, because you're mistaken at something. There's something not right in your brain if you don't view him as being a top 3 quarterback for fantasy football. So obviously, if you have a chance to draft him, you do it. You put him in your lineup every single week. It doesn't matter who he's playing against. It doesn't matter how good their defense is. He is matchup proof. He's game plan proof. You want him in there every single week. Whereas I'm not as high on a lot of his weapons, because yes, Shakir is okay. And, Dalton Kincaid is fine at tight end. I don't want to stay. I don't want to put all of my eggs in one basket, because that's not how this team is built. Not since Stephon Diggs has been out of town. So for me, if James Cook gets an extension, if he gets brought back, I'm more than willing to have James Cook. It's the second time I've done that. Josh Allen and James Cook, those are the Bills that I want. Stay away from the receiver. Stay away from the tight ends. If you play with defenses, I'm not mad at you having the Bills defense, because I think they're going to get sacks. I think they're going to get turnovers. But as far as offensive playmakers goes, those are the 2 for me, and nobody else really sticks out as somebody that I would want.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think those are 2 really good pickups, depending on how the James Cook deal works out, and that remains to be seen. But yeah, I'm with you. Those 2, I definitely would not be mad having Josh Allen on my team.
And maybe if you're a Bills fan and you think somebody distinguishes themselves and steps themselves up as a true number 1 target in this offense, whether you think that's Josh Palmer coming in or Khalil Shakir with his extension, maybe Keon Coleman takes a huge step forward as a sophomore. Let us know in the comments if you think we're being short-sighted and not crowning one of these receivers as being worthy of our fantasy lineups, or join our fantasy league. We're starting a White Widow fantasy league. This is going to be the first year. We're planning on doing it every year. And maybe you want to draft one of these Bills receivers and prove to us why we were wrong about it. And I welcome that too. But Brian, take us out on the Buffalo Bills and the AFC East.
Yeah. Again, Bills fans, roast my brother Brad for wearing that ugly, hideous jersey. And we'll see you in the next video.